One more rule. You live here, you work.
Lindsay Lohan gets a lesson in tough love in Georgia Rule. I'm Richard Roeper. Sitting in for Roger this week is the director of movies such as City of Angels, Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, Moonlight Mile, and one of my favorite recent movies, it's now on DVD, 10 Items or Less, Mr. Brad Silberling. Thanks for being here, sir.
Oh, it's a great pleasure. Thank you.
All right, let's get to it. First movie, 2 months shy of her 21st birthday, Lindsay Lohan plays a veteran party girl in Georgia Rule. Maybe it's no surprise here, but this is actually her best performance to date. Looking a bit like a young Anne Margaret, flouncing about in flimsy tops and short shorts, Lohan's Rachel is a recent high school graduate and full-time girl gone wild who has a loathe-hate relationship with her icy cold and often heavily soused mother, Lily. She's played by Felicity Huffman. Lily has an equally contentious relationship with her own mother, played by Jane Fonda.
Oh, come on. There was a time you'd have dragged me by my hair out of here for drinking.
I'm too old. So's your hair.
I am so pleased to report Fonda is so good here, she almost made me forget her disastrous comeback in Monster-in-Law. She's wonderful in the cranky grandma role usually played these days by Shirley MacLaine.
I'm hungry. Got anything with sugar?
You're 5 hours late.
My mother dumped me 20 miles out. I had to walk the whole way.
We eat at 6, no exceptions. You'll have to wait for breakfast. Oh, there's apples on the table.
Georgia Rule, though, is a wildly uneven film. It veers between serious melodrama involving Lily's drinking problem, among many, many other crises, and some flat comedy scenes.
Gather your senses! You had ample warning about the Lord's name.
Director Gary Marshall's extensive resume includes Pretty Woman, Beaches, and Raising Helen. He's going for a terms of endearment mix of comedy and heavy drama, but I think it falls short. Halfway through the film, Rachel says her stepfather sexually abused her. Is this the most despicable in a lifetime of lies, or is he a monster? We kind of get yanked back and forth, and by the time we learn the truth, we just don't care as much as we should. Georgia Rule is like a very crowded therapy session, incorporating generations of alcoholics, possible sexual abuse, a widowed veterinarian, a Mormon hunk who's still trying to remain a virgin against all odds, and Lindsay Lohan, and more. There's some good writing here, some very strong acting, but I can't give this one thumbs up. Thumbs down for me, Brad.
Oh, okay. Come on, that sounded like a great mix for a big comedy, didn't you think?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. This was a movie that won me over in spite of myself. And,
really?
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say, and it's honestly all because of Lindsay Lohan, and I will say I have not necessarily been the biggest fan in the past. And the top of the picture is a scene we've seen in 100 movies, walking along beside the car. So I was ready to say goodnight at that point. And I thought I was looking at like a walking tabloid creature, something you'd see on YouTube and all of these bits. But the girl can act, and what I was shocked by was that when given great scene partners, which I found with Jane Fonda, and certainly with Felicity Huffman, she actually really connected, and it made me think Gary Marshall did a very shrewd thing in casting her. I don't know if it was an easy time to make the movie.
Yeah, apparently it wasn't.
But it actually, I mean, I felt something by the end of the picture.
I liked some of Gary Marshall's previous films. I'm not necessarily sure he's the right director for this material because it just feels to me like it should be grittier. I mean, it's rated R, and it's got a lot of raunchy stuff, but I don't know necessarily that he's the right guy to film that stuff.
This is not the Sundance version of this movie. I mean, you can feel like the hair and makeup department fleeing the frame at every moment. I mean, that's there.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's the wrong touch for a movie like this that tackles some really serious stuff.
But I think for me, that was it. The fact that I was actually shocked to see the subject matter they were tackling.
If Lindsay Lohan, you know, obviously there's so much baggage attached to her when you see her on screen, but you know, if she can get her act together, and you got to root for her. I mean, she's still only 20 years old. She is a really talented actress, and you know, she could have the kind of career. You look at somebody like Jane Fonda, you think that can be you in 50 years if you get it together. And I hope she does.
You mentioned it, and you took the words out of my mouth. The Anne Margaret thing is remarkable. I just looked at Carnal Knowledge again recently, and she has all of that going on. And if she can just kind of make sure that she doesn't implode, you know, before she gets to make 10 more movies, she'll be amazing.
I agree.
And next, selfishly speaking, there is nothing more exciting than watching the birth of a truly gifted director. And that is just what actress Sarah Polley's become with her extraordinary first feature film, Away From Her, which she adapted from Alice Munro's superb short story. Now, what in other hands could have played like a Disease of the Week melodrama instead becomes a remarkable piece of intimate cinema. Now, with two spectacularly nuanced performances by Julie Christie and Gordon Pinsent, as a vital and devoted couple facing tragically early onset of Alzheimer's for Christie's Fiona, and their decision to place her in an assisted living situation.
I'd like to make love
And then I'd like you to go. Because I need to stay here, and if you make it hard for me, I might cry so hard I'll never stop.
In his absence, she strikes up a relationship with a fellow patient named Aubrey, who she thinks is an old flame. He's portrayed in a powerful silent performance by Michael Murphy. And Grant must now seek out the assistance and understanding of Aubrey's wife, Mary, and a wonderful turn here by the always effortless Olympia Dukakis.
I wonder if you would consider taking Aubrey back to Meadow Lake. Maybe just for a visit, or I suppose I could take Aubrey out there myself.
No, I can't do that. And the reason is I don't want to upset him.
What's so refreshing is the film's focus not on the disease, but on the unresolved and unspoken complexities of marriage. It's a love story about memory, betrayal, forgiveness, and the discovery of grace. The cast is stunning across the board, and Polly handles it with such confidence, such a command of cinematic language, such simple dignity. There's not a melodramatic choice in the picture. If this one doesn't split you open, you don't have a pulse.
I'm with you on this one, Brad. Big thumbs up. Sarah Polley, a terrific actress, now serves notice that she's a director to watch. I mean, and her first film is so strong. And Julie Christie, you know, we just talked about Jane Fonda. It's so great to see actresses of a certain age not just playing little funny, quirky character roles, but real performances.
And for a generation who have not really had the chance to see her on screen, they haven't gone back to their DVD of Chivago or, you know.
Yeah, and I hope they will after seeing her here.
She's stunning.
And you're so right. In the wrong hands, this material could get so soap opera-y, and it's kind of tough. It's a tough sell, let's be honest. You're telling people, okay, it's about Alzheimer's and everything, but there's so much more than just, and they're not a perfect couple, which makes it all the more authentic. We find there were some huge cracks in the relationship, but it's certainly a loving marriage. And then what happens in that home, I think, is very authentic.
It's great, and it's oddly enough, it's like an emotional nail-biter because you don't know where it's going to go, and you're with him in this. You're hoping the relationship can sustain. Can it happen? Can it turn? I mean, I think what you see for Sarah Polley, you feel that in the best way. You feel the tutelage under directors like Adam McGoyan and some of the people who've made some really quiet but smart and great character pictures.
Yeah, beautifully shot. And you mentioned Michael Murphy, who, you know, often has played very quick, kind of sometimes, you know, facile guys who can, you know, and to just, you know, to see a familiar actor in a role that just requires him to emote mainly with his eyes.
He's wonderful, and that actually takes a lot of courage for an actor to be robbed of their tools.
Yeah, terrific film. Okay, later in the show, the rage returns in 28 weeks later. And next, Zach Braff and Amanda Peet deal with the ex.
We did sort of hook up once.
He's paralyzed from the waist down.
Well, not completely.
I'm upset that you banged Chip.
I'm upset that you just told him I banged Chip.
Ow!
You're not supposed to hit people in the face.
Zach Braff has the Ben Stiller role in the mildly amusing but far too timid comedy, The Ex. Now, I think if you're going to go for the Farrelly Brothers route with a movie about a guy in a wheelchair who may be faking it to get chicks, why play it PG-13 safe? Braff plays Tom Riley, the classic underachieving smart aleck still struggling to find his way in life. After a string of failures in New York, he and his wife and their new baby moved back to her hometown in Ohio.
Let me tell you what you are, L-O-S-E-R.
That's great.
And...
Explode?
Come on, you remember how strong Chips Ahoy is? Come on, I got you. Ready? Explode!
And that's the always funny and sexy Amanda Peet as Sophia. Arrested Development star Jason Bateman has the most fun in this movie playing Chip Sanders, who's been paralyzed most of his life. Chip's a jerk. Tom hates him, but is Chip faking it?
You can walk. I have proof. Oh, man, you can't walk! Oh, yeah? Let's find out!
Oh, no!
This isn't Chip, it's Danny. Chip's twin brother.
The Ex has the feel of a movie that was made by committee. Tom's a disaster on the job, and he keeps saying the wrong things when it comes to Chip. Another problem here for me is I just didn't like Tom that much. He's more of a jerk than anything else. He's selfish and immature and conniving. He's even mean to a neighbor kid. Sophia would be better off without Tom or Chip. The Ex has a few laughs, but not enough for me to recommend it, Brad. That's thumbs down for me.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on this one. And part of, I think, my gut feeling watching the picture was you had so many opportunities.
Yeah.
You know, especially, I mean, Albert Brooks' Real Life is one of my favorite films. And to see Charles Grodin, who's like this loaded pistol, not get a chance to go off. I will tell you the one thing that made me still feel encouraged about the picture, though, was Jason Bateman. I was not a watcher of Arrested Development. He's unbelievable in this film.
Yeah, he's very good.
Mine is a weak thumbs down because if someone's going to go see it for him. He's incredible. I mean, I'm a fan of Zach Braff's and Amanda Peet. Everybody's just, they're working hard, and it's a wasted effort.
I just don't think the material's quite there. And you're right. I mean, Jason Bateman's very funny, but even when we find out the truth about his character, it's done in a way where that guy, I don't think, would do that. I don't think it's comedically true. I love Amanda Peet. I've loved her in almost everything she's done. She's usually, though, playing, you know, the wife, the girlfriend. Why can't somebody write a movie for her? Let's put her in the lead role. So missed opportunities here, I have to agree with you. And I think, again, if you're going to go politically incorrect, really do it. Don't hedge your bets and try to get a little sweet and corny.
Yeah, and you have to trust your comedy and your characters, too. The thing that struck me in this movie was it's like every sound effect being jacked up and there's not a trust, and so that's what ends up making something feel contrived. Again, I love the actors and wish that the committee had kind of gotten out of the room.
Yeah,
that's really what it is.
And it was great to see Charles Grodin back.
Unbelievable. Great. Coming up next, zombies take over London again. It's 28 weeks later.
Be sure to check out our new website for full-length video replays of each week's reviews 24 hours a day. Visit atthemoviestv.com, the online home of Ebert and Roeper. Looking at movies now in theaters, the smash hit Spider-Man 3 did get 2 thumbs down, and I'm hearing from a lot of fans who, once they saw it, agree with my thumbs down vote, and lucky you was a split vote.
And just when you thought their moods were improving, it's rage on a whole new scale. And 28 weeks later, a painful attempt to carve a sequel out of director Danny Boyle's terrific 2003 down and dirty suspense horror creation 28 Days Later. The story picks up 6 months after the last film left off. England, decimated by highly infectious rage disease, which claims its victims within 20 seconds of being bitten by other bloodthirsty zombies known as the infected, has now been given the all-clear by an occupying American military force. Families are now being invited to return and rejoin loved ones in quarantine London, a plan that doesn't sit well with young medical officer Scarlett, played by Rose Byrne.
What are you afraid of?
What if it comes back?
It won't come back.
What if it does?
If it comes back, we kill it.
Into this obvious trap arrive 2 young kids reunited with their father, Don, played by the talented Scotsman Robert Carlyle of Trainspotting fame, wose joy in having his children home safe is tempered by his guilt in having left his wife for dead in an infected attack.
And then we were attacked. I seen them biting.
Does mayhem ensue? You bet it does. And where the film's predecessor succeeded through its intimate scale and well-drawn relationships, which really made us feel the terror firsthand, this is the more approach. More noise, more hordes of dizzying infected attacks, more moments of asking myself, why on earth are these characters doing what they're doing? These are terrific actors across the board, forced into very hard labor. The political commentary is flat-footed, it's obvious, and what's worse, the cardinal rule of the genre has been broken here. Never let your zombies be upstaged by a bigger and more cliched villain. The American military, thumbs down for me.
Now, that's funny because I'm giving it thumbs up, even though I agree with some of what you're saying, Brad. I still thought it was scary. It had, I mean, yeah, the camera work is so frantic. It's like, it's more frantic than the zombies. I mean, all the stuff going on, but I have to admit, even though I knew the scares were coming, I jumped out of my seat a few times. And I like the fact that the Robert Carlyle character, you know, about the closest we're going to get to a hero in this thing, is actually a coward who left his wife to die, and he's got to tell his children that. And I got this thing about zombies. I think they're the worst movie monsters of them all because they're usually just, they go, And I like the 28 days and 28 weeks later zombies because they run like track stars on steroids. And for once, we at least have fast, deadly zombies.
I think all I was left with, though, was my memories of what I loved about the first film. And all the things you're mentioning, those were fantastic in that first film. And they even borrowed the same fast shutter technique. To me, though, I just kept getting knocked out by just these character choices and such. I mean, truly, to see 2 kids decide, let's go sneak out to our house, and an entire army lets them go.
So they're resourceful youngsters, and actually, I think they do a nice job. And I know what you're saying about the American military, though. A couple of the characters actually are you know, sympathetic and noble, so that it's not just completely slamming the American military. And yeah, it's not as good as the original, but I still thought there was enough there to recommend it.
Well, there just might be a sequel for you.
28 months later, I think it kind of left it open for that.
I'm wondering.
Shot. Yeah, good music in this film as well, I thought. All right. Now, it seems like there's a post-9/11 movie coming out once a month these days. The latest is a thought-provoking and tense psychological drama. It's called Civic Duty. This is also yet another film that uses the Rear Window blueprint. Peter Krause from 6 Feet Under is Terry Allen, an accountant who loses his job and finds himself housebound. With little to do but type resumes and watch bad TV, he starts taking a very keen interest in one of his neighbors. A Middle Eastern college student named Gabe Hassan has moved in across the courtyard, and he's engaging in some possibly questionable behavior.
Look, if I told you that our new neighbor was digging around in the trash at 3 in the morning.
Why don't you go introduce yourself to him then?
Come on.
At least then you can stop calling him the Middle Eastern guy.
Terry's wife, well played by Carrie Matchett, acts as the voice of reason as he lays out his suspicions. Terry thinks he's collecting evidence, but she wonders if he's cracking.
Don't go in there. Go to your sister's. I will call you tomorrow.
What are you doing, Terry?
Nothing.
What did you do?
Nothing. Let's just get going.
What did you do?
I said get going.
Civic Duty turns into a different kind of movie late in the game, with Terry taking matters into his own hands. But the confrontation between Terry and Gabe is filled with arguments you hear on talk radio every day. This is a flawed but worthwhile examination of paranoia and clashing cultures in the 21st century. So for Brad, for me, it's kind of a mild thumbs up.
Our thumbs are sort of shaking in the same direction.
Yeah.
I wanted to love this movie because of what they were trying to tackle. And the problem is that it was all told in exclamation points.
Yeah.
That said, in the end, it's still suspenseful, and it's one of those great sort of moral quandary films. So it's definitely worth seeing. Again, I wish I had a love affair with the picture.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes over the top. I think in the last 20 minutes or so, it falls apart. And yet, there's enough here, and certainly some really thought-provoking ideas, so it's worth checking out.
Absolutely.
Okay, coming up next, Liam Neeson, Pierce Brosnan, and Brittany Murphy are among the stars in 2 films that deserve a second chance on video. That's in our Thumbs Up video segment, but first, here's a look at what's coming up on next week's show.
Blackjack! It's our first time playing!
If you think this whole mad scene ain't dope, or what I'm saying ain't straight tripping, just say, oh, no, you didn't. Then I'll know it's whack.
This week's Thumbs Up videos are brought to you by Raisinets. Make a deliciously smart choice with Raisinets.
Okay, looking at movies new on DVD, Pan's Labyrinth got a big thumbs up. The Fountain is a Mess, it got a thumbs down, as did Arthur and the Invisibles. But Brad, I have 2 terrific picks, movies that kind of got lost in the shuffle when they came out theatrically. The Dead Girl, which is like 5 interconnecting stories, just terrific acting here.
It's
Karen
a film I did see.
Moncrief,
I think it's remarkable. It's controlled. Every one of the stories is again, it's just a beautiful writing, beautiful direction, incredible.
Tough material, but you have Toni Collette and Kerry Washington, Marcia Gay Harden. I mean, an amazing cast. And then another film that kind of reminded me a little bit of Pale Rider and some of those westerns from the 70s, Seraphim Falls, with Liam Neeson and Pierce Brosnan, who's a long way from Bond. Let's take a look.
I've been hunting you for... I don't know how long. No sense in rushing it now.
The war's over, sir. Has been 3 years.
Will never be over.
This film also features a terrific cameo from Angelica Houston.
Now, my video pick is not one less, and you're going to have to look for it online at Amazon or Netflix, because it's a little difficult to find, but it is worth seeking out. It is a remarkable, smaller film from one of the world's finest directors, which proves once again that scale and budget are not required to tell a wonderfully honest and moving tale. China's Zhang Yimou, best known for his lavishly stylized dramas Raise the Red Lantern, House of Flying Daggers, and last year's Curse of the Golden Flower, buries his hallmark style here in favor of a far humbler approach in capturing this moving tale of a young Chinese peasant, only 13 years of age herself, who's recruited to take over as a teacher at a small village school.
村长答应给你50块钱是吧？村长也会啊，你只要把学院看住看好，赶我回来一个不少，我再给你加钱啊。
The wonder of Mr. Zhang's achievement is capturing this true story using actual real-life participants as his players. Wonderful, wonderful film I urge you to see.
Great recommendation. Okay, so Not One Less is available now. The Dead Girl and Seraphim Falls will be in stores on Tuesday. And when we come back, we'll recap this week's show, and I'll give you an update on my partner, Roger Ebert.
Closed captioning for Ebert and Roeper is sponsored by...
Man has evolved to the point where he no longer needs to stand in line for tickets. The MovieTickets.card, available only at MovieTickets.com.
Okay, recapping the movies on this week's show. We split on Georgia Rule, 2 thumbs way up for Away From Her, 2 thumbs down for The X. We split on 28 Weeks Later, and 2 thumbs up for Civic Duty.
And Brad, my partner Roger Ebert received an award from the Society of Midland Authors here in Chicago recently for his book, Awake in the Dark. I think it's his best collection ever. And I want to thank you, sir, for joining me.
I admire your courage in having a director here.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay, for more updates on Roger's condition, go to atthemoviestv.com. That is it for this week's show. Until next week, the balcony is closed.
French toast treasures at IHOP. Delectable cherry vanilla, banana with caramel sauce, or scrumptious strawberry. Come hungry, leave happy.
Mom, Dad, should I marry Chloe, Liz, or Jill?
New brake service options from Meineke. Life doesn't always give you options. Meineke does.
It's the extra creamy ice cream you don't have to feel guilty about. Double churn from Breyers.
We know your dirty little secret, your mop. Get to know the cleaner way to clean with the Libman Wonder Mop. The mop head is machine washable, only from Libman.